Hi there, and welcome to Films According to Chris Wyatt presents Sequels Revisited. Well, since we have another Terminator film coming out in just a couple months, let's take a look at one of the, let's say, less beloved entries in this series.
What is there to say about the Terminator that hasn't already been said? After all, the first two films are two of the best sci-fi and action films of all time. The original film was released in 1984. It kicked off the careers of director James Cameron and star Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was about a killer humanoid cyborg known as a Terminator, played by Schwarzenegger, sent from a post-apocalyptic future where what's left of humanity is at war with machines. The Terminator is sent back through time to 1984 to kill Sarah Connor, the future mother of the leader of the human resistance, John Connor. The resistance also manages to send a soldier named Kyle Reese, played by Michael Biehn, to protect Sarah from the relentless Terminator. The film was a huge hit, both with audiences and critics, who praised it for its innovative concept, clever script, and well-directed action scenes, not to mention Arnold Schwarzenegger's iconic performance as the titular cyborg.
I'll be back.
A sequel was released in 1991. Terminator 2: Judgment Day, with its bigger budget, was a far bigger and more epic film than anyone could have predicted. James Cameron directed again, and Arnold Schwarzenegger returned as another Terminator, again sent back through time. Though in a slight twist from the original, this time he's been reprogrammed by the Resistance to protect the 11-year-old John Connor from a much more advanced Terminator, the T-1000. Not only were the action scenes bigger, but the film delivered some revolutionary special effects, namely as one of the early adopters of CGI. Even compared to the heavily computer-generated movies of today, the effects from T2 hold up remarkably well, and are just as impressive now as they were in 1991. That said, Terminator 2 isn't a film that relied solely on effects, but also delivered a more powerful and emotional story, this time involving its protagonist attempting to stop Judgment Day. Not to mention it featured an iconic performance from Linda Hamilton and Robert Patrick's memorable villain, the T-1000.
Debate still rages over which Terminator film is superior, but either way, the first two Terminator films are excellent movies that continue to stand the test of time.
The third film, Terminator 3: Rise of the Machines, was released in 2003, and arrived amid some understandably massive hype. The overall consensus is that the film did not live up to it. Arnold Schwarzenegger returned to the series, but series creator and director James Cameron declined. The movie was instead directed by Jonathan Mostow and featured new actors Nick Stahl, Claire Danes, and Kristanna Loken. Critics and audience responded somewhat in the middle to slightly positive, but many fans of the series were left disappointed.
I think I was 15 when Terminator 3 first came out, and at the time, I pretty much liked it. Though I admit that after repeat viewings, my feelings about it are a little more, let's say, conflicted.
The movie didn't exactly break any new ground in the story department. Once again, two Terminators are sent through time, the good T-800, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and a more advanced Terminator, the T-X, played by Kristanna Loken. Once again, Arnold is sent to protect John Connor, while the T-X is sent to kill both Connor and also his lieutenants. It's pretty straightforward. Of course, this premise does raise a few questions, the main one being that Sarah and John Connor destroyed Cyberdyne and therefore prevented Judgment Day in the second film. The Terminators and the future war shouldn't even exist. Well, the movie explains that pretty quickly.
We took out Cyberdyne over 10 years ago, but we stopped Judgment Day.
You only postponed it. Judgment Day is inevitable.
This is something that pissed off a lot of fans. The idea that Judgment Day wasn't stopped, but rather just postponed, speaks of a huge lack of creativity on the storytelling front. Still, for me personally anyways, that wasn't the deal breaker.
There were some things that could have been done to help remedy the cookie-cutter premise, one of which was some decent action and effects. And overall, T3 actually delivered quite well on that front. Okay, well, some of the CGI has really not aged that well, and it certainly doesn't hold a candle to the effects in T2, but a lot of the action scenes are pretty awesome. They're overall well shot and strongly directed. The chase scene through the streets of LA is probably the standout. I also dug some of the fight scenes between the T-800 and T-X. Speaking of the T-X, I actually thought she made for a pretty good villain. The T-X was apparently designed by Skynet, the intelligence that controls the machines, to eliminate rogue Terminators. Kristanna Loken's performance doesn't quite have the same menacing presence as Arnold from the first film, or Robert Patrick from the second, but she still manages to bring the same kind of emotionless killer instinct required for a Terminator. The actors are generally decent as well. Nick Stahl handles himself fairly well as the now adult John Connor. Claire Danes' performance as Kate Brewster is generally decent. She's mainly brought in as a love interest, which probably wasn't all that necessary, but she's a tough character who handles herself well in the action scenes and doesn't bring down the story in any notable way. Though I have to say, Linda Hamilton not reprising her role as Sarah Connor is a definite letdown. And of course, you have Arnold Schwarzenegger. And yeah, he still kicks ass. People always bring down Arnold for his lack of acting ability in his other roles, but there's no doubt that he's always killed it in the Terminator movies, and this is no exception. His presence brings a lot into this movie, and not just in the action scenes, but a few welcome bits of humor as well.
Talk to the hand.
So there is a lot to like in this movie. So where does it exactly go wrong?
In short, it's the story that kills it. Let me refer to a clip I've already shown.
You only postponed it. Judgment Day is inevitable.
Yeah, this is the main problem. Not that Judgment Day hadn't been prevented, but rather that it can't be prevented. The overall message in the previous two films was that the future was not set, and that the film's heroes had the ability to change their destiny, as well as the world's. It's a powerful message that gave the first two films a sense of both urgency and a sense of hope.
For a series to go from a message of hope and being able to control your own destiny to basically, no, we're all screwed, the future is set and there's nothing we can do about it, yeah, that kind of sucks.
So, as for my usual question, is Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines an underrated sequel?
To answer that, I'm gonna have to say no. I mean, there are some things I like about the movie, but overall it doesn't really work.
The action is great, most, though not all, of the special effects are solid, and Arnold still kills it as the Terminator. But the way in which the movie ruins the powerful emotional core that made the first two films so great is a definite letdown. Not the worst ever, but I can't really call it underrated.
I'm back.
Alright, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know what you thought of Terminator 3 by leaving me a comment below. And if you like what you saw and you want to see more, click subscribe and tune in every Monday for a new video. I've also got links to some of my previous videos right here, and links to my social media pages in the description box below. I'll see you next time.